Well, I want to welcome everybody to the Women Veterans Alliance Wednesday webinar series. I'm Melissa Washington. I'm a Navy veteran, and I am the CEO and founder of Women Veterans Alliance. If you did receive the email, we have been piloting a new program called Audience Graph, and it just gives the audience the ability to gauge as far as their interest in the presentation, and that was the additional link that we sent you. It is an app, but you don't have to use it on your phone. You can also use it via your browser there. So just want to share with you, and if you can just click on the thumbs up. You can slide the bar at any time to let us know how you are feeling throughout this great presentation that we're going to have. If you're not familiar with our organization, we are a nationwide organization with our primary focus is to connect you with resources and each other. And one of the ways we do that is through our Wednesday webinar series that is available at no charge to you. But there is benefits, of course, if you become a member, and you can find more information on our website and learn all about all the other things that we are doing, which I'm going to share a few of those with you before we get started. If you're on social media, please connect with us. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Also, too, if you are interested in joining our organization, you can find, you can go to our website, womenveteransalliance.org/join. If you haven't heard, or if you've heard of the Unconference, that is our annual signature event. We have our 6th one taking place this year in Las Vegas, October 8th through the 10th at the Tropicana. Right now, early bird pricing ends July 31st at the end of the month, and then we'll go to our general pricing on August 1st. So if this is something of interest to you, I highly recommend that you get registered for this, what will be an amazing weekend in Las Vegas. We do have some photos here of some of our previous unconferences. And as you can see, we do bring in horses for equine therapy, headshots. The VA comes out, and if they have flu shots, they bring those. We have a new clothing boutique, hair, makeup, painting class. We have it all. And I guarantee there will be fun, laughter, crying, just an amazing time. So if you're interested, womenveteransunconference.com is where you can register. And also, too, if you're interested in being an exhibitor or sponsor, the information is there as well. And we do still have a few openings for exhibitors. One of the other things is we have our Help Us Get Her There campaign, and that is through Women Veterans Giving, our nonprofit partner. And one of the things which actually we're going to be announcing tomorrow, because our application period opens. So Women Veterans Giving has 2 programs. One of those is we have an annual small business award that we give to women veterans that are looking to start or expand their business. And to date, we've given over $10,000 to women veterans, and we raise those funds through our nonprofit. And our other program is we send women to conferences. And of course, we send women to our unconference. So again, be on the lookout for the email tomorrow. The application period will open. It'll be from July 15th to August 15th for the Small Business Award, as well as the unconference. And feel free to share that information with others that may be of interest to them. And if you haven't heard, not that I have enough going on already, is I'm launching a Women Veterans magazine in January 2022, and it'll be a California edition. We're starting with California, and then we'll work on additional states. So if you are in California and you're interested in writing an article or advertising or listing your business, you can go to womenveteransmagazine.com to find out more information. And our last July Wednesday webinar, we have Bridget coming up talking about leadership in the workplace. She's our last July one. August, we end all the webinar series. I know it's quickly come to an end, but we do have 6 planned for next month, as we're going to be doing, some weeks we're going to be doing 2 a day. So make sure you watch your email for that to see those Wednesday webinars. And we will end the month of August with Phyllis Miller, who is Phyllis Wilson, who is the CEO of the Women's Memorial there in DC, and she is going to have a presentation regarding 9/11. As you all know, we're coming up on the 20th anniversary. So please make sure to tune in at the end of August for that webinar. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our presenter, Emily Harman is the founder of Onward Movement and the host of the Onward Podcast. Emily has 38 years of service to her country as both a naval officer and civilian federal employee, retiring as a member of the Senior Executive Service in May 2019. A trailblazer, Emily was in the 6th class of women to graduate from the U.S. Naval Academy, commissioned a supply officer. Emily was one of the first 2 officers on the U.S.S. Emory S. AS-39 to qualify as a supply corps surface warfare officer. Recognized as a role model, Emily served as a company officer and leadership instructor at the U.S. Naval Academy. So without further ado, welcome Emily, and go Navy.
Thank you, Melissa. Wow, you have a lot going on. Starting a magazine, putting on a conference. I had to put on conferences in my last job, and when I was the director of the Office of Small Business Programs for the Navy and the Marine Corps. So I know that that is a lot. And then even just scheduling and putting on these webinars. So thank you for everything that you're doing for women veterans.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to giving it. And when you were talking about, it made me think, about the networking opportunity at your conference and stuff like that, and just women veterans supporting women. When I go back to my reunion from the Naval Academy, there was only, I think it was 72 women in my class of about 1,200. And one of our, I guess I would say, is regrets or things that we notice is that when we were there, we feel like we didn't support each other enough. I mean, we give ourselves compassion for not doing that. But we were all just in friggin' survival mode, we weren't wanted there for the most part, and it was just a challenging time. But it's so important that women come together and lift each other up and support each other. So I'm excited for what you're doing. And it seems like I looked at some of the past presentations that you've had and some of the ones coming up, and they all look awesome. So congratulations. So I think you all probably know how to put your reactions button on. So, or hit that. It's at the bottom. You'll see a reaction with a smiley face. You can raise your hand or put your hand down or whatever. And I hope that you participate by using that. Have any of you ever, who has an inner critic? You want to raise your hand either this way or, oh, you got an inner critic. You recognize that inner critic. Yeah. And I want to talk about that. And I'm going to break some news to you. I think we have more than an inner critic. And I want to shed some light on what's going on. And it's based on this book, Positive Intelligence, which is a New York Times bestseller. It might be something that a book that you want to get for yourself and read it. It's Positive Intelligence, Why Only 20% of Teens and Individuals Achieve Their True Potential. And I know that we all want to achieve our true potential. And I know our inner critic holds us back. And even though somebody can look at me and say, oh, Emily, you're successful. You went to the Naval Academy. You were a senior executive with the Navy. You've got it all together. You must not have an inner critic. That's a bunch of baloney. I do have an inner critic. Today, I was trying to get my presentation up and ready, and my internet went down, and my inner critic, or what I would call now, based on this coaching program, my judge, saboteur in my brain is saying, oh, this is bad. Our judge judges not only us, so our judge is our inner critic, but the judge judges more than just us. Our judge judges other people. Our judge judges circumstances and situations and then labels them as good or bad. And then our feelings come about as a reaction to what the judge is saying about a particular situation. So in this presentation, I'm going to share what I've learned in this Positive Intelligence program and some simple exercises that can help you with taming that inner critic. Let me share my screen. Okay, so taming your inner critic, how you can grow 3 core mental muscles so that you can go from self-sabotage to self-mastery. in as little as 6 weeks. And I'm not going to get into all of the science and the data behind it, but just know that Shirzad Chamine, who wrote this book, is a research scientist he's a researcher, and he's done a ton of research out of Stanford University. And then there's just been tons and tons of new discoveries about how our brain works that lended itself to this study as well, to what Shirzad has come up with. That you can change your brain. You can go from self-sabotage to self-mastery. You can tame that inner critic. I'm not going to say that you can make it completely go away, but we can let that inner critic not hold us back from creating a life that we love living. And that's what I'm a coach, and that's what I like to coach on, is helping people create a life that they love living. Because that's what I've done in the past couple of years. I didn't always love my life when I worked with the Navy. And I think that taming your inner critic, strengthening your mental fitness is an important piece of being able to create a life that you love living. So what is mental fitness? It's not mental health, but it's basically, here's the definition. It's our capacity to respond to life's challenges. I'm going to change my screen here. Capacity to respond to life's challenges with a positive rather than a negative mindset. But I'm also talking not just about like, changing to positive thoughts. Imagine I'm talking more about that. I'm talking getting to the root of the problem. So imagine that your brain is a garden and there's weeds growing in there, there's flowers growing in there. If you want to go out and pull the weeds, you probably know when you've pulled weeds, if you don't get to the root, it comes back. So how do we get to the root of the problem and prevent it from really growing back strong? I mean, our saboteurs will always be there, but they don't have to rule us as much as maybe they do now. So now that is weird. Okay, so the impact is you can find peak performance, you can achieve peace of mind and wellness, and improve your relationships. So this is all based, this positive intelligence, this book I was talking about and this study is all based on positive psychology, neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and performance science. And if you want to get into all those details, you can get the book, and in the back they reference studies, and you can read all about it. But just know that this research includes results from hundreds of CEOs and their executive teams, Stanford students, world-class athletes, over 500,000 participants from 50 different countries. So from all over the world participated in studies with Shirzad and his research that is summarized in this book that has been translated to 20 different languages. So basically it's based on factor analysis. Like I said, getting to the root cause of the problem. We discover the root cause, and it results in a radical simplification of how we look at our mind and how we can learn how to tame our inner critic. For example, at the root of thousands of colors, there's 3 factors: blue, yellow, and red. So what does factor analysis research show that Shirzad has done? It basically shows that there's really 3 core mental muscles, or 3 core muscles that are at the root of mental fitness. It's the saboteur interceptor, and I'll tell you how to learn what who your saboteurs are that are in your right side of the brain, and how we can intercept them and catch them telling us lies that they tell us. And then the sage, which is more on the left side of the brain, and I'll explain later. And then the self-command. How do you catch yourself in saboteur mode and switch to sage mode? And it's not just saying to yourself, I'm going to think a positive thought. That doesn't get to the root of the problem. So like I said, we have saboteurs and sage. There's 10 saboteurs, and I'll get into a little bit about who they are, and I'll share with you at the end of the presentation how you can find out more about who your saboteurs are. You might know what they are, and inner critic is one, the judge is one, but the judge tends to recruit some of these other saboteurs, and they're very sneaky, and we don't always know, we're not always aware that they're there. And then the sage, We have 5 sage powers that are just at our core essence. So first, let's talk about the saboteur interceptor, this judge. Like I said, the judge judges circumstances, other people, and ourselves. So it'll say, you got late, Emily, your internet went out and you can't get this presentation finished, or you can't get this presentation, you're not going to be able to present it today. That's bad, 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 bad. And I can get all stressed out about it. And I can start beating myself up, and the inner critic might come and be like, this is just bad. How do we stop that and find a gift or an opportunity and remain calm? So these are the other saboteurs. And like I said, I'll give you a link to an assessment that you can take in just a couple minutes. Based on how you answer questions, you can learn who your saboteurs are. But my top saboteurs are hyperachiever, which I knew. I was completely aware of that. I just didn't know how to stop looking from the outside and promotions and all this other things outside of me to love myself. I didn't know how. I knew I was a hyperachiever, always trying to achieve. I need to achieve. And once I get that position, once I get that accomplished, then life's going to be easier and I'll be happy. Once I retire, which I did in 2019, then I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be able to slow down. And I wasn't. And I didn't know why I couldn't slow down. I thought, well, I'm retired. I shouldn't be stressed. I should have plenty of time to go to the gym. Then that's when I figured out that I got this restless saboteur, and I got a tough boss, and her name is Emily. And she's always telling me more things I need to do. And I listen to her, and she's telling me, and my hyperachiever is telling me, you got to achieve, you got to get this done, and then you'll feel good. My other saboteur is pleaser, putting everybody and everything else before me, pleasing other people. So maybe some of you can relate. And the way I've got my screen going, yeah, raise your hand if you can relate, if you want to share, if you see some of these tendencies in yourself. Yeah, Tracy, Karen, Bobby, thanks for participating. Yeah, and so your judge says, bad. Let me go recruit another saboteur like your hyperachiever to make you even feel worse. So it's tough. We have more than just the inner critic in our brains. So here's like a sample of the results you would get that would tell you, based on how you answer the questions, where your saboteurs are, what they are. And then if you get this book, or I think even go on Shahzad Shamin's website, just Google positive intelligence. It will give you the characteristics of, for example, somebody who's a stickler, and you who has a stickler saboteur. This is one thing to get across too. We don't say, so you name the saboteur. I don't say I am a hyperachiever. I don't say my mom is a stickler. I say I have a hyperachiever saboteur. My judge is telling me that this situation is bad, but I am not my judge. My inner critic judge is telling me this situation is bad, but that's not me. I am sage, and I don't have to listen to those lies that the judge is telling me. I don't have to listen to the lies that the stickler is telling me, but don't refer, I would highly recommend, and same with Shahzad, don't refer to the author of the book. Don't say I am, because when you say I am, you're commanding that that's who you are, or that's what you are. No, I have a pleaser, a hyperachiever, and a restless saboteur. And it'll tell you, like the feelings and the thoughts that come up. This is definitely my mom. She's got this saboteur. She knows the right way to do everything, and she's got to do it perfectly. I go over and tell her, I love your pottery. Oh, look at this piece. Yeah, but she can say every single thing wrong with that piece. In fact, sometimes she has me over for dinner, and I have my parents over for dinner, and I serve them dinner on plates and stuff that my mom gave me. The other day I went over for dinner, and she was serving me on stuff from China. And I told her, look, I am not coming over here for dinner ever again unless you are going to serve me on the pottery that you made. So it's just, and then the other thing is, if you and your family take these assessments and you learn something about yourself, and let's say your significant other has a stickler saboteur and you have a stickler saboteur too, but let's say that your stickler is a 5 and hers or his is a 10. It's not a finger pointing thing like, well, your stickler is worse than mine. That's, the way you are. And, it's not that. This is all to look at ourselves, because the only thing we can work on is ourselves. It's not to change another person. It's not to blame another person for what their saboteurs are. It's to recognize them. This helps at work too. And to better understand how to deal with people and to better understand their saboteurs, and it, helps you deal with people differently. So the saboteurs, like I said, they are in parts of our left brain in general. And then the sage is in the middle prefrontal cortex. So it's the empathy circuitry in our brain. It's parts of the right brain. So it's like they live in, I have spent most of my life living on the right side of the left side of my brain, making lists, checking things off, hyperachieving. Feelings are a waste of time, which is on the sage side because they prevent me from achieving. I got to keep moving on. And this is what I've been working on within myself. So the saboteurs, they motivate you. Yeah. So you could say, well, Emily, if you didn't have a hyperachiever saboteur, you wouldn't have made senior executive. That's what my hyperachiever will tell me. If you didn't have me, you wouldn't be able to succeed as a coach. You've got to keep achieving. Lie. Expose the lie of the saboteur, because they motivate us and the judge, which is partly our inner critic, through fear, stress, anger, guilt, shame, insecurity. I don't know about you, but I don't need to be motivated that way. And I don't think you do either. The sage motivates us through positive emotions like empathy, curiosity, creativity, passion, and purpose. So, like I said, the saboteur could generate success. Yeah, I was successful in the Navy. I was a senior executive. I was the equivalent of a 2-star admiral. I wasn't happy. I was stressed. The sage would generate your highest success and sustained happiness. I kind of wish I could go back and work in the Navy again with what I know and how I've changed, worked on myself. But, look, there's no time like the present, and we're in the present now. I can't go back and change some things, but I can move forward and live life differently, live life from my sage, choose to not be stressed out. So somebody might say, like I said, aren't negative emotions good for you? Well, is pain good for you? So, when you're feeling stress, fear, anxiety, negative emotions, it's like having your hand on a hot stove. How long do you want to leave it there? I mean, it's okay to feel that because it's like, oh, warning, it's hot. So how do you get from, oh, warning, that's my saboteur lying to me? And we have neural pathways in our brain that lead to our reactions, but we can change those and have our reactions come from our sage. So they're only helpful for 1 second as an alert signal. And if we want to stay in our negative emotion, it really hurts our ability to see clearly, to respond with empathy, curiosity, creativity, or laser-focused action. So negative emotion, if you're feeling that, one of your saboteurs is attacking you, is sabotaging you. It's not as important to figure out, well, is that my stickler or my hyperachiever? That's not as important to know as to just recognize I'm stressed. My saboteurs are lying to me, and to take a step back. And I'll show you an exercise you can do to help with that. Okay, now we're going to the sage. So the sage is in the region of the brain associated with positive emotions, peace and calm, clear-headed focus, being in the flow, being creative, and seeing the big picture. So it operates from the sage perspective, which is every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. So this is a very short story that I'm going to read that kind of drives that point home. An old farmer lives on his farm with his teenage son, and he also has a beautiful stallion that he lovingly cares for. The farmer enters his stallion into the annual county fair competition. His stallion wins first prize, and the farmer's neighbors gather to congratulate him on this great win. He calmly says, "Who knows what is good and what is bad?" Puzzled by this, the neighbors go away. The next week, some thieves who heard about the stallion's increased value steal the horse. When the neighbors come to commiserate with the farmer, they find him again very calm and gathered. He says, "Who knows what is good or bad?" Several days later, the spirited stallion escapes from the thieves and finds his way back to the farm, bringing with him a few wild mares that he has befriended along the way. To his neighbors' excited rounds of congratulations, the farmer once again says, "Who knows what is good and what is bad?" A few weeks later, the farmer's son is thrown off of one of these mares as he's trying to break it in, and his leg is fractured. And the neighbors gather to commiserate with the old farmer. And he once again reminds them, "Who knows what is good and what is bad?" The following week, the Imperial Army marches through the village, conspiring all eligible men for the war that has just broken out. The old farmer's son is spared due to his fractured leg. The neighbors no longer come to bother the old farmer to congratulate him. By now they know his response will be, "Who knows what is good and what is bad?" When our judge says something is bad, we need to take that statement with a grain of salt, if not outright dismissal. Our judge convinces us that we know what is good and bad at any given moment. But the truth is that actually we don't. And some of the people that I'm in a coaching program with Shazad, and someone will say, "Well, it's bad that my mom got cancer. It's bad that this happened." I could say it's right after I retired, my kid's dad died of cancer. And sometimes it takes a little time, and we learn this in the program that I've been through, but you can find a gift or an opportunity in any situation. And I've been through some tough things. My son's an alcoholic. I share a lot of it on my Onward podcast. I can find a gift and an opportunity in my son being an alcoholic, and so can he. So the question is, which perspective is true? The saboteur's perspective, this is bad, or the sage, that this is a gift or an opportunity? And the answer is whichever you believe becomes true. So let's talk about the self-command. So you notice that you're in saboteur mode. Your saboteur is lying to you. What we learn is to do a PQ rep. What is a PQ rep? I'm going to lead you through one right now. You can do them for 10 seconds. You can do them for 15 seconds. You can do them for 2 minutes. You can do them for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, as long as you want. But the thing is that, when you go to the gym, you go to the gym and you lift weights. You can't go to the gym one day and expect to be really strong. And you can't go to the gym one day and lift a 2-pound weight and expect to be strong. So just like with mental fitness, if you want to tame your inner critic, if you want to deal with all the saboteurs, doing a 2-minute PQ rep is going to be good for a small challenge, but not a huge challenge. So I invite you to do this PQ rep with me, and then I invite you to do these throughout the day. He talks more about it in the book if you want to read the book. Doing one PQ rep, you should see a little bit of response in terms of how you feel with respect to stress. But if you're feeling like really, really, really stressed out now, this short PQ rep might not help you. But just know this is one of the ways that you can focus your mind on the present. You're commanding your brain to stop being in saboteur mode and come back and be more in the sage mode, be more present. So this is one example of a PQ rep. Just close your eyes. If you're sitting up, that's great. feet on the floor, close your eyes. Just breathe several times. Just take normal breaths. Just feel, you can even put your hand on the stomach and just feel your breath going up and down. Close your eyes. If your brain starts to wander, like this is stupid, what's Emily doing? Pull it back to just focusing on your breath. Now take 2 fingertips and just on each hand and rub them together with such attention, you can feel the ridges in your fingertips with your eyes closed. If your mind starts to wander, bring it back. Tell it, we're focusing on fingertips. Bring your mind back to your fingertips. One more time, back to your fingertips. Now you can open your eyes. And if you do that at a time when you're feeling stressed, or even at a time like you're getting ready to go into a work meeting and you know it's going to be stressful, center yourself, be focused on the present. I think that will really help. Or when you notice your inner critic beating you up for something, catch that. You're in saboteur mode and switch to the sage mode. What helps you do that is doing those PQ reps. So what you do is if you're feeling the negative emotions, stop, do some PQ reps. That helps quiet the saboteurs and activate your sage. Assume the sage perspective that every problem can be converted into a gift and an opportunity, and then generate that gift by using the sage powers like empathy, curiosity, creativity, calm, and clear-headed action. So is it really that easy to just switch? The answer is yes, but the speed and depth of the shift depends on your mental muscle strength. Can you lift a 100-pound weight or a 50-pound weight if you've only been lifting 1-pound weights? You've got to work yourself up to it. And Shirzad talks about that in this book. He even tells you how to track your PQ reps and things like that. So you got to build up your mental muscle strength, and knowing that you have to do it, and with insight, like reading the book, is 20% of it, but doing it is the 80%, like building up the mental muscle. I know when I joined the gym in DC, I walked by that gym every single day. I knew I needed to lift weights and work out at the gym in order to get in shape. I walked by it every day. I knew that. But until I went in the gym, and for me, I had to hire a trainer to help me to be accountable. Until I did that, my muscles didn't change. I didn't get in better shape. So, and it requires intense practice initially, like 15 minutes a day for 6 to 8 weeks. And that's what I wanted to share with you about this. And, I highly recommend this book. You can email me if you have any questions. We can ask some questions here. I have a website, emilyharman.com, and you can even schedule a complimentary meeting with me. We can talk about it. I do lead a coaching program on mental fitness. And if you go to that website, or even if you just go to positiveintelligence.com, you'll see 2 assessments. One assessment you take, it's only like 2 minutes. It'll give you your saboteurs. And then the other assessment, it's the same amount of time. It will tell you the percentage of time you're in sage mode versus saboteur mode. And your goal is to be like at least 75% in sage mode more than you are in saboteur mode. This has changed my life. And you can maybe think of different examples in your life where someone really ticks you off. Someone's really, hitting your buttons the wrong way, your coach or whatever, your boss. How do you switch and be in sage mode when you're contemplating that? How do you find the gift? How do you get curious about why your boss is the way he or she is? How do you get curious about how to solve a challenge with your significant other, an argument? How do you come from sage mode? And when you're in sage mode, that helps get the other person in sage mode too. So it definitely creates new neural pathways in your brain. Shirzad has done studies that with an MRI that measure showing that people have built new neural pathways, which means you're going to, you go more, you have a new pathway, a new field, in your brain that goes right to sage mode more often than not. That's how to make lasting change in taming your inner critic. So I will stop sharing and see if anyone has any questions or wants to share an experience or ask a question or tell me they relate or tell me I already knew all this, whatever. You've forgotten that story. Yeah, my saboteur is the feeling of not doing things right, not having all the answers. The answers are within us, but sometimes it takes somebody, how we can always, it's a lot easier to see what everyone else is doing wrong or their problems. And I had one of my coaches say, when you point your finger at somebody, you got 3 fingers pointing right back at you.
Yep.
I was like, ugh, what about me? I don't need to change. I'm fine. If you go to my website, emilyharman.com, and go to the podcast section, I haven't uploaded it. After this, I'm going to upload it. Listen to this week's podcast. It starts out with a quote of me saying, I could easily look at my son and say, poor Will, he's an alcoholic. He's using alcohol to not feel. And I'm his mom. This is between age of 13 and 23 until he got help. He's been sober almost 5 years. But I'm his mom. I've got to help him. I put everyone and everything. I've got to help so I got a divorce from my kid's dad. I got to help my kids. I got to do a good job at work. I've got to get my kids to counseling. And then poor Will, he's an alcoholic. Let me try to fix him. But I was doing the same thing as Will was doing. I wasn't drowning my feelings in alcohol, but I was not feeling them because I was too busy. Busy is my alcohol. And I didn't know how to stop it. I thought retiring would stop it. It didn't stop it. I had to do a lot of inner work. Tonight, I'm going live. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, you'll see that I'm going live with a woman and we're talking about tonight at 7:30. I do my broadcasts live now, and then I post them later on as a regular episode. But tonight, this is what I wrote, because she wrote an awesome book. So I wrote, I'm so excited for tonight's Onward Podcast interview with Ada Pia. Her book is so well written. It describes much of my own awakening process. What's awakening, and how do you listen to your intuition? How do you find your authentic self? What's this inner journey that everyone's talking about? How do I find inner peace when bad things have happened to me and are happening to others and in my life? Everything bad's happening in my life. How do I find inner peace? It's not me that needs to change. It's others in my life. If they would change, I'd be happy. How does this even apply to my work? If people at work would just do their job, my life as a leader would be so much better. It's them, not me. I keep getting promoted and achieving, and I'm not happy. If I get the next promotion, my life will be so much better, and I'll finally find happiness. How do I let go of my ego? What happens when I retire and I no longer have my job title? Will I matter? Please join us. When we're live, you can post questions and Ada and I will answer them. And it's going to be a good interview. It's live tonight, 7:30 Eastern time. Connect with me on LinkedIn. It'll pop up. or join my Onward Movement Facebook group. Just go to Facebook groups and find Onward Movement and join that. And you can see how to join it from my website, which is emilyharman.com. PQ stands for, it's his abbreviation for like mental fitness. And he has this PQ quotient, like it's, if you go to his website or read the book, you can see it. So some people refer to it as positive intelligence, other people, mental fitness. I think I use mental fitness because I think that that really resonates with, especially military people. We know what physical fitness is, but you know, are we mentally fit? And you know that you're physically fit when you can climb up a huge hill and you're not out of breath. You know you're mentally fit when you can have this huge challenge in front of you and you're calm. And you're peaceful and you're not stressed. You're looking at, how do I be creative and solve this? You tap back into your inner child. If you look at yourself, a picture of you at age 5, 6, 7, 8, look at that essence in that picture. The innocence, that's still you. I got my picture on my phone. I look at her every day as a reminder. So my saboteurs, speaking my language. Glad you're mentioning that we can have more than one. Yeah, they're really good at hiding. They're really good at telling you lies, and some are very subtle. You don't even know they're there. They're not like yelling at you. They're not like, you know, telling you directly that you're a loser and that you're an imposter and that you can't get this done or that. Sometimes it's subtle. You have to really listen. You have to really question. They've been around a long time. I'm 58. They've been in my brain, running my life for a long time. So you're not going to be able to do one PQ rep and all of a sudden your life is golden. But to me, I mean, if I were you, I mean, like knowing that you can, like it can change your life. So anyone have a question that want to raise their hand or want to speak up? Okay, Melissa.
This was fantastic. Thank you so much. Oh, let's say we got a chat. Oh, very good information. Thank you. Great. So last opportunity, last call. And Emily, do you want to just put your link maybe to your to get on your email list or your podcast in the chat, just so that way the ladies will have it real quick?
Yep. Let me, well, my website is just, wait, if I could type. My judge is saying, you idiot. No,
There it goes, yes.
Emily, just go www.emilyharman.com. Make sure you spell my last name Harman. So emilyharman.com. And that's where you go to my website. You can learn more about me. You can learn about my coaching programs. You can learn about, you'll see a link to the Onward podcast. Like I said, in a few minutes, I'll post this week's episode. And you can listen to it there, or you can just search for Onward Podcast on Google Podcast, on Apple Podcasts. But also link up with me on LinkedIn. I'm really active on LinkedIn. So
yes, you are.
Yeah. Oh, in fact, this week's podcast is really a solo cast that I did on LinkedIn. I just went live on LinkedIn and started crying and talking. I didn't know what was going to, but so it's called Create a Life You Love Living. But whoo. You know, and I'm trying to teach my kids, how do you find a gift or an opportunity? Another example is I went to visit my son over the 4th of July. And when I got there, you know, so here's something too, you know, the stories we tell ourselves. So he hadn't been responsive. He's 28. There's always something in the back of my mind that wonders, you know, is he drinking? I don't think he is. He's not. I know he's not. He's married, and he's the only dad that his wife's 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old son has. So, but he was not being very responsive, and he was saying he was busy. I'm like, yeah, you're busy. I know that you've got a lot going on your plate, but you can't be too busy to call me, talk to me, whatever. So, my judge is judging him, judging the situation, telling me everything that's bad that's going on. I'm thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't even go visit him. Maybe he doesn't want to see me. I don't understand. And so I get there, and Marshall runs out, hi, Emmy. And he fell. And you know how little kids, when they fall, they're like all embarrassed. So I didn't see what his shirt said. And Corinne's got her phone on. She's like, looks like she's recording. And they're like, did you see Marshall's shirt? And I looked at it and I was like, it says, I'm going to be a big brother. And I was so excited. And he was so excited. And Corinne's recording me. And then she says, it's twins. And I'm like, oh my God, twins? You're pregnant with twins? 6 weeks along. Yeah, hooray, congratulations. But God works in mysterious ways, because 2 days later, she miscarried both of them. And what would your judge say there? This is bad. If you're Corinne, I'm a loser. I'm not healthy enough. I can't have another healthy baby. All the things that go on in your head. And William wasn't texting or calling me because we're so close that he was afraid he'd spill the beans. And Corinne was insisting, we have to tell her in person. So how do you find gratitude in that? How do you find the gift or the opportunity in that? It's there. And I helped them through that weekend. But it's tough. So no one's life is perfect. You could say, yeah, but I've been through this. The woman who lost her, I think his daughter, to a drunk driver, started Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. So Christopher Reeve broke his neck in a horseback riding accident. I'm sure when he's laying in the hospital, he didn't think, what's the gift or opportunity? He didn't, think that he could find a gift. I'll share one more thing. Join the Onward Movement, because I got a post about this. My roommate from the Naval Academy has 4 kids. When her daughter was 12, she broke her neck in a gymnastics accident. She was a really good gymnast. Now I think she's 24. She broke her neck, told she wouldn't walk again. She really fought back. She's been through a lot. I've interviewed her on my podcast. She's heading to Tokyo. She's a Paralympic cyclist.
Awesome.
So she can find that gift or the opportunity in what happened. And so it's our choice. And read Viktor Frankl's book about living in the prison camps. He was a Jew, and how he found the gift or opportunity. It's within us. It's not out here. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you for that. Thank you for being vulnerable. And I think too, that's hard for a lot of people, is to be vulnerable and to share what you've shared. So thank you so much, Emily. I'm sure everyone appreciated everything that you've shared today. And that's it for everyone. So please follow Emily, connect with her on LinkedIn, go to her website, listen to her Onward podcast. And thank you, Emily, for your time today. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great
Bye,
week,
everyone.
Bye. Yes, Man, Search for Meaning. That's it. That's Viktor Frankl's book. Great book.
Thank you.